Very good afternoon to everybody and welcome to the 129th Global Weather live from Marfogan Weather HQ here in Evanton, Ross-shire. Hope you're all well this afternoon on this fine Sunday afternoon. We have got an interesting live stream as always here on the channel, and we've got plenty of things going on around the world over the last several days, and yeah, we're going to have an interesting one next week. I will not divulge the location just yet, but there will be a special live stream next week. Still have to finalise the time, but it's actually going to be late morning next week because of a time difference where I'm going to be live from. So that was just a little bit of admin to start off today's stream, that there will be a live stream next week at the unusual time, probably of about 11 a.m, believe it or not, because I'm going to be away along with Lindsay. It will be a special live stream in the sense that it's going to be my birthday, and it is going to be in somewhere slightly warmer than here, put it that way. So more to come on that one as we progress through the course of this week. So we currently have Lindsay tuning in next door. Thanks for moderating today's stream as always, Lindsay. Great to see Richard Gray also. We've got Hazel Kitchen. Good afternoon to Hazel. We've got Paul Farwell also on today's live chat. How's everybody doing? Have you had a good week? I was out the back garden yesterday doing some leaf clearing and trimming of the trees. Trying to get the garden a little bit better, tidied up somewhat after what has been a fairly long winter overall. We've got David Vogan tuning in from Kirkintilloch. Good afternoon to David, and also to Joyce as well. I hope you're feeling a little bit better, Mum. I know you've had a chest infection for a little while now, and I hope that is starting to improve. So good afternoon to both Mum and Dad down in Kirky. Hello from a settled but grey day here in Kirky. Reasonably mild, 7 degrees. Happy birthday in advance. Thank you very much. Yes, a week today I'll be a little bit older than I am currently. So that's how it works, isn't it, when you've got a birthday? Yeah, who else have we got here? We've got Simon Davis tuning in. Good afternoon to Simon. And we've also got Adam Blunston tuning in as well. Good afternoon. What are your thoughts on solar maximum happening in the next 10 years? Last one was 400 years ago. Solar minimum, sorry. Well, we're going to probably have that same in the next 3 or 4 years. We're at solar maximum at the moment. Probably try and do a little bit of a video with regards to solar maximum and obviously where we're going with the current cycle. So we've reached a maximum, and we will eventually be starting to see a decrease in solar activity over the next few years. It's obviously an 11-year cycle, or thereabouts anyway. Sometimes it's shorter, sometimes it's a touch longer. Has to be said that it's not my expertise in any stretch, but I try to include the solar cycle and how it can have some influences on our weather. That is a bit of a debate, that one, and we'll not necessarily get into it in too much detail. But Richard says, hi, Richard Gray, this is, hi Mark, another grey, cold day here on Dartmoor. I'm looking forward to warmth. Keep up the good work. Very much appreciate your kind words, Richard, and hope you're well down in the southwest of England. Looks as if we're going to continue to see this chilly theme as we start the new working week, but we are going to start to see an uptick in temperatures as we progress through the second half of this upcoming week. We've got also Steffi Adcock. Good afternoon to Steffi. I hope you're well. We've got Braemar, Ballard, D-side and Donside weather. Good to see you tuning in as well, my friend, and I hope you're keeping well. And what David said, doing good, thanks, Hazel. Right, okay. Sorry, I'm getting slightly confused. It can be a little bit hard to sometimes keep a track of the live chat as well. It's easy to kind of, because I'm looking at it off my phone, so it's quite easy to miss comments and miss people. So I do my very best anyway to give everybody a shout out, answer some questions, etc. It looks as if we've got a piece of the the tropospheric polar vortex dropping into North America. We'll look at some of the temperatures in a little bit. We've also got the other piece of the PV dropping into Eastern Europe and also the western fringes of Asia. We have got a situation that deep area of low pressure over the Atlantic is going to essentially put a barrier up against that cold trying to drift in from the continent here. So it was one of those patterns, by the way, that it was so close yet so far, with a predominantly easterly flow over the last week to 10 days here in the UK, as well as Ireland. We have had colder than average temperatures. However, without a proper cold continent, essentially it was more of a nagging easterly as opposed to anything particularly notable. If we had have had a colder air mass in place, as those winds blow over I say relative warmth, the North Sea is actually quite chilly, and we're obviously getting closer to the chilliest time of the year in terms of surrounding water temperatures. But the relative warmth of the North Sea with sub-freezing air, we would have been picking up some of that moisture off the sea and driving it in as snow showers anywhere from Kent all the way up to Caithness. But without an appropriate cold air mass, you simply do not have much in the way of snow. It looks as if this is the snowiest middle of February period for the UK, the snowless mid-February period since 1998. I made mention of that in the European Outlook yesterday about a lack of snow cover. That being said, back in January, believe it or not, probably it was actually a snowier than normal January, believe it or not, with the exceptions of the far south of the UK, where it was below average. But the bulk of the UK was actually above average. According to the Rutgers Snow Lab anyway, we had a slightly snowier than average January. It's going to be a very different story when you look at the anomaly. The deficit for the month of February will be firmly below normal, and we're going to be looking a little bit more at the soil moisture content as we move towards the month of March, because it's going to be factored into the thinking regarding early summer. So this is usually a time where I start to think a little bit more about the longer term as we move deeper into the springtime, and how everything is kind of playing out with regards to the type of weather pattern that you can expect into the springtime, and then obviously that then leads into the upcoming summer season. So we've got Hebridean also tuning in. Good afternoon to Hebridean. It's good to see you. We've got Fregs. I'll start again. We've got Fred Blogs Mac tuning in from Inverness. Good afternoon to you, my friend. You're just down the road. Joyce also tuning in. Good afternoon. Happy birthday in advance, big son. Hope you are both well, says Mum. So yes, we're both keeping well. Nipped out to get a couple of groceries a little earlier. But having a pretty relaxed Sunday, it has to be said. I'm going to maybe try and nip out into the garden in a little while and do a little bit more cleaning up, because I've done a pretty decent job, I think, over the last few days with regards to trimming bushes and clearing some leaves. So I'm going to try and continue with that after the stream, as we still have a decent amount of daylight even after, well, even by about 5 o'clock, it's still relatively bright. So I'm going to try and take advantage of that. So Mrs. has gone to the kitchen to bake with my 7-year-old. Maps look massive now on TV. Need to do this every week. Yes, if you've got a smart TV, I greatly encourage you to check out these videos. Not so you've got a better view of my face by any stretch, but it's so that you can see the maps better, because some of the maps on here, unfortunately, is not very clear when you're looking at it on your your smartphone, or I suppose a tablet is a little bit better. But I greatly encourage you to tune in on the TV, because you've got a better view of the charts that I'm trying to show you. So anyway, without further ado, we're sitting on 10 past 4. We've got 31 concurrent viewers. You know the drill. Do I have to say it? Well, I'm going to say it anyway. Please hit that like button. It is greatly appreciated. It helps the algorithm of the channel just get a little bit more reach on the YouTube platform. Have you subscribed to Mark Vaughan Weather here on YouTube? If you haven't, please hit that red button. Absolutely free. but it also kind of shows that I'm doing something right. You're enjoying the channel, and I hope you are doing so. Because we've still got a little bit of possible winter left, but we do appear to have a surge of something much milder towards the end of this week. At the same time, bitterly cold air is driving south over North America. So this is the current CDAS 0.5 data. As of Sunday, the 16th of February, we've got a lot of mild air within the Arctic. Obviously, that is still cold air, but it's firmly warmer than what it normally would be for the middle portion of February. We've got quite a cold area over the western interior of North America. We've got a lot of warmth across the southern tier, anywhere from southeastern California all the way across to Florida and up most of the East Coast, with the exceptions of once you get north of DC, where it's starting to turn colder than average. We're coming off the back of the coldest January since 1994, and with the chart showing quite a cold rest of February, looks as if this could well turn out to be a colder than average February after what was the coldest January since 1994. So quite an interesting winter on the other side of the Atlantic. I know it's going to be painful for those that want cold weather. I'm declaring that winter is over. I think you have to be very cautious with that one, because you can still quite often get a last sting in the tail of winter. We've got Richard Trott tuning in. Good afternoon to Richard down in Yorkshire. Hope you're well, my friend. Hi, everyone. I hope you're not working too hard, by the way, Rich. Rich has sent me in some of the 500 millibar geopotential heights for this month, January, and the winter combined. Some interesting viewing in those charts, I must be said. I did share those in yesterday's European Outlook. I'm going to be sharing that in a little bit more detail coming up as well. I'll look back and basically score the winter forecast. I think it's not been a bad forecast. Let me know in the live chat what you thought of the winter forecast versus what actually took place. So that's going to be analysed in a little bit more detail in the next 5 days or so, so stay tuned for that. Massive thank you to Braemar, Ballard, D-Side and Donside Weather for a very kind donation. It is very, very generous of you, my friend, and greatly appreciate that. Is very, very kind indeed. Thank you to yourself for doing that. So what is Rich saying then? Because hi everyone, hope you're all doing well. Keep watching Mark's informative videos. Just in from work, needs some food, and before suffering shortly on the football watching. Yes, it has been quite painful for both of us, Richard, this season, with the Rangers and Man United very much up and down this season, it has to be said. So let's crack on anyway. So this is the global anomalies here, temperature-wise, through the month so far, and you can see the standout warmer than average across the top here. We're sitting somewhat below average actually here in the UK. We've got the cold and average, especially the further east you go. Let's have a better view of this actually. And then we'll look at some of the extremes. We're going to show some videos. Tornadoes in the southeastern United States. We've seen continuation of this epic snowfall in parts of Japan. We're going to see the polar vortex dropping south over North America. There has also been, it's been reasonably cold, southeastern Europe extending into the Middle East region. We've got notable cold now starting to drop into this region of the world. Then look at China. It's actually been quite a cold month across China. Mongolia, cold than average, and most of Russia has been warmer than average, if you notice that. North America is an interesting one. We've got extremes of both mild, Alaska across the very top of Canada here, but we've also got some notable warmth down into the southeastern United States. But in between that warmth up in the top and also at the bottom of the continent, we've got a core of pretty cold temperature anomalies for the month so far here. So if we look closely at North America real quick, and you can see here what I'm talking about. So very anomalous warmth up across the top here, but also down across the bottom of the country as well. Seen the first 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 38 Celsius in the parts of Texas, Rio Grande, I think, to be exact. But look at this core of cold. Southern portions of Alberta extending into northern and much of Montana, has been firmly below average in terms of temperature. Up in the New England is starting to turn a little bit colder than average. But you can see here, northern Manitoba into Ontario, into Quebec, Labrador, warmer than average. And then once you get up into Nunavut, Northwest Territories, we've seen some very mild conditions up here as well. And you tend to find when you've got particularly cold air further south, you've got milder up in Alaska, northern portions of Canada. That tends to be the case. Moving across the Atlantic then, this is the temperature anomalies for Europe. And you can see here, average to below for the UK and Ireland. Be interesting to see where this goes by the end of the month, based on the slightly milder surge that we're going to see moving northwards as we progress through the course of this week. Cold and average into the near continent, northern France, the Low Countries, Germany, moving across into Poland, then eastern areas of the continent. We're going to see a big contrast, by the way. Look at this here. These are the 850 anomalies by the time we reach next Saturday, the 22nd of February. And we've got anomalies. This is at 5,000 feet, by the way. Temperatures of 12 above average over Central Europe. But look at this here. 12 below average down into parts of eastern Ukraine, across the Black Sea, into Turkey. We've got firmly below average conditions here. So it's going to be a contrast of very mild in the west of Europe versus very cold in the east of Europe here. And it's a very blocked up pattern overall across the entire northern hemisphere. And when you've got that block, you've got areas of extreme cold versus areas of extreme warmth either side of each other, when you've got this very, very blocked up setup at the moment. This is off the ECMWF over the next 7 days, by the way. And there's the two pieces of the PV, this tropospheric polar vortex. We've seen that split. One piece Eastern Europe into Western Asia, the other piece into North America. So this is the temperature anomalies over the next 7 days. You can see here how mild compared to average is up over the top. So we've got this firmly negative Arctic oscillation. That means you've got the cold released away from the pole into the mid-latitudes, and you've got these pools of warm versus cold, and pretty extreme at that as well. Because if you look at this chart here also, you can see the contrast between very mild conditions over Western Europe versus extreme cold over Eastern North America. So moving back to the anomaly charts here. This is Europe. Let's have a quick look at Asia. And you can see here the anomalies. So much of China is below average. Much of Russia is above average. We've got eastern areas of Europe into the Central Asia region that's been below average. We've seen rain. We've seen mountain snow over Iran, for example, and the adjacent countries around Caspian, for example, into northeastern portions of Africa, Egypt, into the northern portions of Saudi Arabia, and then Syria, below average conditions here. Obviously, this time of the year can be quite cold in these places. They're not always warm, obviously. And then even moving down into the territory of next week's live stream, I'm not mentioning the country, but down into Southeast Asia, hint, has been slightly below average in terms of temperature. India has been warmer than average, as well as Pakistan by the looks of it. So I want to show you a couple of interesting video here. This is of Cyclone Zelia that made landfall in the upper portions of Western Australia back a few days ago. I believe this was a Category 5 equivalent that made landfall here. And this is a video by Weather Monitor showing the damage and flood left behind. So this is obviously upper portions of northwest Australia. And then I want to show you this video as well, so stay tuned, everybody. This is from 9 News in Australia.
We have a clearer picture tonight of the damage left behind by ex-tropical Cyclone Zelia, with communities likely to remain cut off for weeks. There has been record flood levels recorded in the De Grey area, not expected to subside for some time.
A desperate fight for survival, this is De Grey from above. Livestock helpless, struggling through floodwaters. a family-run cattle station feeling the full force of Cyclone Zelia. Owners today assessing the damage, recording more than 600 millimetres in the past 3 days.
The biggest the river's been is right now. We've never had it bigger than this.
Destructive winds destroying properties, emergency crews flying in to help with the clean-up.
The staff kitchen, that's just a mess. The ceiling caved in, 2 windows blew out. So that's, quite a mess.
Just about every tree on the property's got missing limbs or is down. Brand new machinery shed that was destroyed.
Remote communities evacuated by helicopter, homes submerged in Marble Bar, where only a few weeks ago a freak storm likened to a tornado tore through.
There were already houses with tarps on the roofs from the tornado, so they were pretty effectively removed. There's probably 25 to 30 houses in town which will need a fair bit of work, and we still have 5 or 6 that will be uninhabitable moving forward.
A number of stations smashed by record rainfall. Homes damaged at Kalindi. It could be days or weeks until some roads reopen. Communities cut off but told not to drive through floodwaters.
The floodwaters in the De Grey catchment have not yet reached peak. So it's clearly still a very dangerous situation up there, and we urge everyone to be very cautious.
While in Headland, it's returning to business as usual, the port reopening today. Sarah Smith, 9 News.
So that was the scene in northwestern Australia back just a few days ago. I've seen a couple of people asking about a spring forecast. There is no official spring or autumn forecast. I don't tend to do that, but I will obviously be doing monthly outlook still. So there will be a March, April, May monthly outlook when the time comes. But there is no seasonal forecast for spring or autumn. I just mainly focus on winter and summer in terms of the overall forecast. But don't be disheartened by no official spring or autumn forecast, folks, because we're obviously still going to be looking at the medium and long term quite often here on the channel anyway. So just to be clear, I noticed Hazel as well as Adam asking about that. So that's that. So this is, like I say, the effects of Cyclone Zelia, which packed, I think, 120 plus mile per hour winds on the coast as it made landfall. But we've also seen very problematic weather across the southeastern United States. As you've got colder, colliding with very milder, you've got obviously severe storms that blow up supercells. And this was the scene in Idlewild in Tennessee. A video by Brian M. Finger showing the devastation. Now, the good thing is I can talk because there's no sound on this video. But look at this here. This is the damage that was caused by, I think, an EF2 tornado. And obviously this is actually, believe it or not, a time, especially during La Nina years, when you tend to have a ridge over the southeastern United States and colder air to the north and to the west. You've got these storms that run that boundary, that gradient between the two air masses, and you quite often have severe weather as a consequence. And quite often February, and then once you get into March and April, that's when you get into the meat of the severe weather season over the United States. But that southeastern corner has been hit pretty hard by quite a parade of storms moving from west to east across the continent in the last little while or so. So, very, very disastrous scenes in some communities of Tennessee and adjacent states because of the storms. We've obviously got a wintry side. We've seen freezing rain. We've seen obviously mega rainfall, by the way, over a foot of rain, and not just in the eastern half of the United States. We've also seen it out west in California. We've seen some atmospheric rivers. We've had storms slamming the west coast. We've had upwards of 5-6 inches of rainfall around the LA area, and obviously with the wildfires in recent weeks as well, causing issues with landslides. We've seen flooding. But that's a lot of rain. I think even within a 24-hour period, we've seen as much as 5 inches of rainfall in the LA area, which is pretty significant. Like, we don't even really see that very often here in the UK, and we tend to be a lot wetter than what Western California is, or California as a state. but this time of the year, you get these big storms coming in off the Pacific, and as a consequence, you get the rainfall in low levels, and you've got epic snowfall in upper elevations. We've had 40, 50 inches of snow within a 24, 36 hour period over the high Sierra Nevada mountains, for example. And speaking of snow, this was the scene, by the way, in Japan. We continue to see the winds blowing off Siberia over the warm waters of the Sea of Japan, and the snows just continue to pile up. Snow depths, this is a tweet here by Thierry Goose, based in Vancouver, Canada, 750 centimetres. Now, I'm assuming that's snow depth. It says snow depth recorded in Western Japan in recent days. So that is land snow. This is the biggest snow depths anywhere on the planet, by the way, probably out with, the Arctic or parts of Alaska can quite often see epic snowfall, especially when you've got systems moving in off the Gulf of Alaska. But this is an incredible scenes, isn't it? So this has been a very snowy season, and a lot of that, by the way, is to do with how warm the Sea of Japan was back during the autumn season. It's been record warmth day after day, week after week, month after month across many areas of Far East Asia. And when winter comes and you've got added fuel with warmer seas compared to average, you've got even more moisture gets lifted into that super cold air, and then it gets blown eastwards, bumps up against the high terrain of Hokkaido, northern Honshu prefecture, and you get these epic snows as a consequence. But just amazing scenes, really, out of parts of northern and western Japan. So, continuing to look through here, let me just see what else I can show. Obviously, the damage with the cyclone. We've also seen some epic rainfall in parts of Queensland, Australia. So, while the northwest got hammered by heavy rain and hurricane-force winds, we've also seen significant flooding in parts of the opposite side of the continent across the north here. Let's have a quick look at my own Twitter feed, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Townsville, to be exact. So there's the gardener. Not a bad job, I don't think. Yeah, obviously, I've managed to pile up the leaves in different spots. There's quite a lot of tree cutting there. Probably did a rubbish job. I'd probably find that the trees now collapsed because they're lopsided or whatever. That would be just my luck. But yeah, that's a little view from the back garden for those who are interested. Let me just see here if I can see the tweet. Did I retweet it? I'm not sure if I did actually. But this is an interesting one as well, by the way. Lack of sunshine in the last week to 10 days. 0 hours for Leeds, Wrexham, Swindon, Derby, Birmingham, London, Norwich and Brighton, while we've had as much as 40 hours up in Stornoway. So obviously a lot of cloud cover getting driven in from the east. And as a consequence, we've seen a lack of sunshine in many areas, but that northwest corner of the UK has been blessed with a little bit more in the way of sunshine compared to others. I'm just trying to see here if I can see that tweet, but it appears that I haven't. Bear with me a second here. Sorry about this. Townsville. Obviously, record. Right, here we go here. So this is Townsville, Queensland. Quite a tropical location, so they do get heavy rainfall. But with 13.2 millimetres of rain recorded yesterday, the current accumulated February total for Townsville Airport is now an incredible 1,150.4 millimetres of rain. Not only does this easily break 2019 February record of 964 millimetres. Remember, this is just a month of February, by the way. And what's interesting is the fact that we're only halfway through this month and that record has been blown away. Over 1,000 millimetres of rainfall. But it's also officially the wettest month of all time, surpassing 1,147.3 millimetres back in January 1953. Data goes back to 1941 for Townsville in Australia. Current temperatures across North America look like this here. We did see minus 46 at the particularly cold spot in northern interior Saskatchewan of Key Lake. That is quite often a cold spot in Canada, but Key Lake, I think, dropped to minus 46 this morning in air temperature. Yeah, there we go here. So there's Key Lake right there. If you can see with the cursor, we've got obviously the big clash between cold driving southwards. Obviously milder, getting lifted north out of the Gulf of America, which seems really weird now. Gulf of America, it'll always, in my opinion, be the Gulf of Mexico. But the temperature is 25, 26 in South Florida. We've got 20, 21 Celsius all the way up into southern Virginia. But yet we've got this bitterly cold air. We've got storm systems that are running in between, causing severe weather just in the kind of southeastern flank, and just on the edge of the warm sector here. You got this tongue of warmth that gets lifted north as that circulation then moves from west to east across the United States and lower 48. And obviously we've got minus 40s up across central areas of Canada. So that bitterly cold air will descend all the way into North Texas, possibly even into South Texas through the course of this week. Some of the coldest air of the entire winter is moving southwards over North America through the next several days. Looking at current temperatures across Europe then, in fact, let's continue to look globally then. This is the current temperatures over Brazil at the time of recording, so plenty of upper 20s, 30s, even upper 30s in a couple of spots, southwestern Brazil up into the north of the country, obviously a huge country. Anyway, and then look at the current temperatures over Australia, and obviously it's nighttime there, so this is the cooler part of the day down under. You can see here upper 20s quite widely across the north of the continent, something cooler down into southeastern areas of Australia. Moving across then to something a little bit closer to home, this is European temperatures at this very moment, 32 minutes past 4 on this Sunday, the 16th of February. You can see here some fairly cold air up into the far northeast of the continent here, mid-minus 30s, you can see. And then some reasonable cold into Norway, Sweden, Finland, Central and Eastern Europe, but very mild conditions down into southern France and across the Iberian Peninsula, as can be seen here. But moving on then, this is the upcoming 5 days looking at over the Northern Hemisphere as a whole, but let's have a look and see what it's looking like for Europe according to the anomalies. And we've got a very east to west split over the continent, mild in the west versus pretty cold in the east, as can be seen here. So these are the anomalies, the temperature anomalies through the next 5 days. And playing through the loop here, you've got actually some very notable warm anomalies here, day 4 through 8, which is the 19th through the 24th. Now, bear in mind that this is the temperature anomalies for the month of February so far. So are we going to wipe out this subtle building of cold across the UK and Ireland over the next week or so here? So obviously February ends on the 28th of the month, and it'll be interesting to see whether this turns out to be a slightly warmer than average February when you factor in what's coming through the course of this week and beyond. And we are going to be looking at the month of March, by the way, this upcoming week as well, so stay tuned for that. We will look at specifically at some of the temperatures in a little while. In fact, let's just have a quick look now and see what the Met Office model is indicating in terms of the temperatures for the UK and Ireland as we progress through the course of this working week here. How warm is it going to get? I wouldn't be surprised if we see 16 or 17 in parts of eastern England or south east England by the time we reach the end of this week. It is going to be a slow pull out of this cold pattern that we've seen in the last 10 days or so. If you look at the 850 temperatures, you can see that the cold air mass that has been so close yet so far, it actually starts to kind of drift a little bit westwards through the course of the beginning of this week. So this is what we've got at the moment, a very, very stark contrast in the 5,000 foot level temperatures. We've got -6, -7 down the eastern side of the UK, but down into the southwest, we've got 5-6 Celsius at 850 here. So much milder conditions in the southwest, even across Wales and much of South England. We've got above freezing temperatures up at 5,000 feet. Ireland, Northern Ireland, again, 2-3 Celsius at 850. Continue to play through this loop then, and interesting how we see this slight shrinkage of that mild air as we progress into the beginning of the new working week. And those 850s actually dropped close to -10. It's taken a little while here for it to load up. Yeah, you've got a -9 Celsius here around the Bridlington area, it looks like, here of eastern England. So yeah, some fairly cold air at 5,000 feet. And like I say, you can see the shrinkage of that mild air. But then as we progress through into the second half of the upcoming week, you can see that the 850s really start to warm up from the southwest. I don't know why. There we go here. So look at this here. Look at the reversal. Try and skip back a little bit here to see better. But yeah, +7 Celsius at 5,000 feet. Within a few days, you're going from -7 to 9 Celsius to +6 or 7. That's quite a big flip around in a short space of time. Let me see if I can reload this. I don't know if the internet's running a little bit slow or not here, but quite interesting to see. And this has been a story of the winter over, all these fluctuations in temperature. We've had a couple of named storms. We had Dara back in December. I couldn't remember whether December had a storm or not, but somebody kindly said Storm Dara. I think it was in the early portions of December. Then obviously Storm Eowyn. We've had these surges of super mild conditions. We had -10 Celsius around the Altnahara area back around the 10th, 11th of January. 3 or 4 days later, it was +14. And that was something that I thought may happen this time around, where you would see these big swings between something colder and something much milder. It always seems to be in recent years, the mild is never very far away, and it doesn't take an awful lot to see that mild surge northwards into our part of the world. So you can see here, this is the 850s. This is mega slow. I do apologise about that. It's a bit annoying, actually. Let's have a look at the maximum temperatures then and see if I can show you what we can expect over the next few days here. And let me just see here, because I don't like cutting out the south of the UK. A couple of folks have said it keeps getting cut off. It's not deliberate by any stretch, but you can see here, these are the temperatures into the afternoon. So in fact, let's see what the actual temperatures are, and then we'll look at the Met Office model in just a second here. Just bear with me just to get to the right chart. So this is the UK and Ireland at the moment. We've got generally 3 to 6 across the north. Chile, 2-3 Celsius. So we're going to, over the next day or two, that cold anomaly is probably going to get somewhat deeper. When you've got maximum temperatures, bear in mind probably you're talking double figures now for an average maximum temperature. But bear in mind, this is nearly 20 to 5 in the evening. The sun's up, well, here anyway. But that is a fairly chilly old afternoon, especially when you've not got a particularly notable cold air mass in place. So chilly temperatures are going to continue over the next few days, but the big change coming up towards the end of the week. So take off this advert. Let me see here. Sunday afternoon. Then overnight we'll get perhaps some clearing. Temperatures drop into the temperatures below freezing. We've got -1 to -3 Celsius over parts of northern England. Same for central Highland, perhaps the southern uplands as well. We've got a -4 showing up there over just to the close to Braemar. It looks like here, Braemar, Ballater, Deeside and Donside. Whether your territory, it looks as if the models indicating -4 or 5 around your neck of the woods. Tonight, this is as we move into the new working week. So again, that chill lingers on into the afternoon. We've still got 4, 5, 6 Celsius. So we're starting to slowly recover. Still staying chilly across the north of the UK in particular. Then as we move towards the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday time frame, There's the milder conditions now starting to move in. We've got 13 on the Murray Coast, 11 and 12 through the Central Belt, mum and dad territory, 12 Celsius-ish. Then down into England and Wales, we're talking widespread 12 to 14 Celsius. That'll be very nice, won't it? Might start to see a little bit of growth starting to appear when you've got this kind of surge of milder air moving in. So that's what the Met Office model is indicating in terms of temperature. We'll look at this in a little bit more detail as we progress through the course of the week. So be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Absolutely free, doesn't cost you a penny. And we'll be looking at the details regarding how much warmth are we going to see as we progress through this upcoming week. These are the current day records, by the way, unofficial, but nevertheless interesting enough, off coolweather.com. What my suspicion will be is we're going to start to see the blue dots, which represent cold temperature records, and then the orange and red dots represent the warm temperature records here. Let's see if we can blow this up a little bit. So this is the current look globally. What my suspicion will be is we're going to start to see blue dots appearing over the far east of Europe and into that Central Asian region. That other piece of the polar vortex is going to descend into this part of the world over the next 5 to 7 days. We're also going to see records fall over the central United States. So I think the central US region and central Asian region are going to start to see these blue dots appear where these two cold pools set up. Elsewhere, western areas of Europe, we're likely to see record warm temperatures appearing in the west of the continent here as we move into the new working week, especially during the second half of the week. There's not really much showing up at the moment, apart from down in the Iberia, where we've got a couple of records, 25 Celsius, for example, in Murcia. It looks as if 24 Celsius, in Murcia. And we've also got another location here, a record of 20 Celsius. And I think that's a slightly higher elevation. But we'll keep an eye on that as we progress through the upcoming week. So let me just see if there's anything else I can show you here. And then we shall kind of possibly round up. We shall see. So let me see here if there's anything of interest. Remember I said about record mild temperatures all the way up in the Nunavut territory, by the way, on the night of February 12 in the 13, station at Pond Inlet. This is at a latitude of 72.4 degrees north, reached an exceptional high of minus 0.7 Celsius. That's 30 above the average. So the average high should be minus 30 Celsius, and it was away up at minus 0.7. New monthly record, smashing the previous record by a huge margin of 3 degrees set back in 1986. Let me just see here if there's anything else. Top 10 snowfall in Montreal, Canada. Looks as if we've seen third place back in December of 41.2 centimetres, but there February 13th, as much as 34 centimetres of snow. And as we start to thicken that snow cover, that cold air is going to run southwards and create a more potent air mass when you've got a deep, thick blanket of snow. Temperatures of minus 47.7 in Saskatchewan this morning. Is that Key Lake? I think it is. So that spot in north central Saskatchewan, quite often a very, very cold spot in the winter season. Yeah, minus 47 in Key Lake, Saskatchewan, as I said here. Let me see if there's anything else of interest. Down under, it looks as if South Australia recorded the hottest February day on record. So for the whole region, the whole state of South Australia, 48.7 Celsius in, what's that, Udnadatta. I think that might be the pronunciation of that place. But some impressive heat across South Central Australia. Looking down in South America as well, temperatures as high as 45 Celsius at the La Rioja. I think that might be, looks as if that location in Argentina, new monthly record, it missed out, new monthly record and only 1 Celsius from the all-time record in this location in Argentina. Uruguay, 41.4 Celsius. Chile as high as 42 Celsius at the moment. So, yeah, have I covered everything? Let me just see here, weather monitor real quick. See, so we've seen some pretty interesting flooding actually down in Brazil in recent days as well. Let me just see here. This is the flooding, by the way. So, you know, we're seeing the snow, rain, sleet. We're seeing freezing rain. We've seen accumulations of a half an inch of ice. When that builds up and surfaces, obviously it can bring power lines down. It can bring tree limbs down. But this was the scene. This is a tweet here by Weather Monitor back 11 hours ago of Hillview area, Louisville. And I think there was a water main break in Illinois back a few days ago, and it flooded the street big time. The problem is with the temperatures dropping well below freezing, all that flood waters, it was in the cars, it was in probably people's houses as well. You imagine a flooded street and then all of a sudden the temperature drops well below the freezing mark. That starts to freeze up and it freezes everything in place. It must be a real nightmare that actually to think of that. Again, another view of the wet side of these winter storms. Like I said, in Southern California, we've seen some major rainfall in recent days. This is a Novo Hamburgo in Brazil. This is the flooding.
É muita chuva, foi muita chuva. E é um problema. Histórica da cidade muito lá. O arroz passando aqui pela avenida Nações Unidas, bem no Morro. Aguaceiro, um cheiro muito ruim também, né? Por volta aqui da. A chuva começou por volta das 13h30. E agora tem essa situação de arrisca aqui. É tremendo o nosso tempo. Vai passando aqui.
So pretty nasty situation down in Brazil with the rains in some places, record heat in other places. We've got Katrine also tuning in. Good afternoon to Katrine. Hope you are well as well today. What else? This was the scene in Australia. Let me just see if there's anything else of interest, and then we'll kind of round things up. I'm sure folks are wanting to get their Sunday dinner underway since it's nearly 10 to 5 in the evening. Again, look at this here. This is Hurley, Virginia, and massive flooding. Now, remember what happened back during the hurricane season with some of the flooding that was seen in parts of this region of the world. Very, very devastating flooding. Actually, this was the scene in Italy in some places. Just bear with a sec. I just need to plug in the laptop because it seems to have stopped charging. Don't want the battery to run out before I finish the live stream. That would be slightly embarrassing, wouldn't it? Let me just see here if there's anything else of interest to show. This was a ship, interestingly, that ran aground here. This was Port of Bax. Is that right? Probably not the right pronunciation, but interesting here, the ship ran aground. Whereabouts is that? Is that Canada? It looks like here. Let's have a look at this. Looks as if there's a rescue going on there. There's a chap getting dropped out of a helicopter. Interesting. Hopefully everybody is safe with that situation. This is an interesting one here, by the way, of Mount Etna. Did anybody see this? The lava meeting the snow and then creating a bit of flooding. This is as that lava hits the snow cover, creates steam and obviously melt and runoff, whatever. We've also got Soot tuning in. Good afternoon to Soot. And we've also got Jace72 a bit late. Hello, everyone, says Jace. Good afternoon to you as well, Jace, and to Soot. Thanks very much for tuning into the stream. We are slowly but surely starting to round things up for today's stream. And then next week, probably 11 a.m. UK time, I will be live it will be a special birthday live stream, and it will not be from Edmonton in Ross-Shire next week. So this will be an interesting stream next week here. This is from Saudi Arabia. We've had some incredible storms. Torrential rain, heavy hail. We've seen quite a lot of flooding events in the Middle East in the last 12 months or so, for sure. This is also in Paraná in Brazil. Again, major flooding. So what's some of the information here? Just I'll read out. So again, weather monitor, severe rainstorm triggered emergency alerts in Curitiba, and other places that I'm not going to try and pronounce. Heavy downpour caused over 22 alerts for fallen trees and flooding in Curitiba. 17.2 millimeters of rain fell in a 15-minute period, with a total of 39.2 by day's end. Significant power outages, dangerous conditions with streets severely flooded. So, and again, this time of the year, it seems to be, parts of Brazil is very susceptible to flooding. Obviously, it's the wettest time of the year for places, especially up towards the Amazon basin, for example, for flooding, because it is the summer down here. This is another video of the eruption of Mount Etna, which is obviously ongoing, but a rare lava snow phenomenon. It's hard to say that word. Look at this. Pretty cool, isn't it? Would be quite interesting to actually see that. So anyway, let's round things up. A massive thank you to everybody as always. I know I keep saying the same thing, but it is very, very appreciated. People taking the time out of their busy schedules and lives to tune in and listen to my dulcet voice for 50 minutes to an hour or so. But there will be plenty of content coming up here. We're going to see a surge of spring likely towards the second half of this week. So stay tuned to the European Outlook. So there will be videos more or less every day. I say more or less because there is going to be a little bit of a disruption to the schedule in the next, particularly from about Wednesday onwards. I'm going to be doing travelling, but I'm going to try and do a couple of pre-loaded videos so that you're not really missing out day by day. But a massive thank you to Steffi Adcock, to Joyce Vogan Suit. We've got Hazel, Richard, J72. That was on the chat. I'm probably going to repeat myself a couple of times. I do apologise for that. Katrine. We've got Richard Trott. Massive thank you, by the way, to Donside, D-Side, Ballater, and I almost get mixed up because there's too many words there. Braemar, Ballater, D-Side, and Donside. Well, a massive thank you for your very kind donation. It is very much appreciated, and it's very much appreciated to everybody for tuning in. John Bevan as well for taking the time to write on today's live chat. I hope you've enjoyed today's content, taking a little tour of the global extremes, looking at some of the temperature anomalies. Looks like we've got some interesting things. We also had Sync Splint tuning in. I think that's the first time I've made mention of Sync Splint. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you're well as well. Massive thank you to all the moderators, Sync Splint, Paul James, and to Lindsay for moderating today's stream. I'm going to round that up then. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday and your weekend. I'll see you again tomorrow with the European Outlook. We're going to be looking at this little surge of spring in the next couple of days. We're also going to look a little bit at the winter, going to score the winter forecast versus the reality. There's going to be a March Outlook released in the next week or so as well. So plenty of reason to stick around here on this channel. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow with the European Outlook.